What up, everybody? Welcome to the IAG Thursday thing. This thing that we do every Thursday, and we've been pretty good about doing it every Thursday, to be honest. And where we all get to hang out and chat with cool people. It's even better when you're chatting with friends. And yeah, it's basically kind of like a parking lot meet, but you get to listen to it whenever you want. And we try to have a good time. As usual, I'm joined by my partner in crime, the ridiculously tall guy from Chicago. Warranty, how you doing, bud?
Dewey, I'm doing great. I am flying to New Jersey tomorrow. My shots are up to date. I have my passport. I've been brushing up my language skills.
Why are you
and I'm
going to New
excited.
Jersey?
I'm visiting a friend who's stationed outside of London in the Air Force, and he's back visiting family.
Okay, well, don't get an STD.
I'll try not to.
Okay. All right. We're also joined by, at least for most of this show, Mr. Producer Jordan, who does all the stuff in the background. He's taken off. He's going to a T-Pain / Mr. Worldwide Pitbull concert. So he's going to have to cut out early, but that's all right. I think we'll have it pretty much sorted out by then. And as usual, and this week, put in a ton of extra work, thumbnail maker, Mr. Randy. Randy had to put some effort into this thumbnail because these guys kept sending potato images and then weird images that we couldn't format correctly and all sorts of shit. Man, I swear to God, it was the hardest thumbnail I think Randy's ever had to make. That was not very nice.
I didn't.
Should apologize to Randy. Apologize to Randy.
You know, I got to make sure you can do your jobs properly.
Well,
and you also decided to put that in my hands. And you know, like that being said, you should just hit Sam directly.
I know, that's my bad. My bad. We got a little special, thing we got to take care of right now. It is somebody's birthday in our audience. Yes, right. But it's like one of our favorite people. It is Stephanie's birthday, who is here. She has been here every single week since we started this thing, okay? She has been the biggest supporter, and it is Stephanie's birthday, and I would sing happy birthday, but we would get DMCA striked or whatever, so we can't do that.
Happy birthday, Stephanie.
Happy birthday, Stephanie.
Happy birthday, Stephanie.
Yeah, so we're so stoked. We got to see her at Boxer Fest again. She's one of the best. She's genuinely just great people. So the chat lighted up for Stephanie.
That's right. We have good chat people here.
We do have good chat people. If you're listening, if this is your first time getting in on one of these, we record these live in our Discord. And you can participate. We do it every week, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, unless for some reason we're doing something wacky. But every week, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you can be a part of this, even raise your hand to come up and ask a question. But the chat's constantly, chatting amongst themselves about what's going on and, dropping questions and whatever. So you can really be a part of this. And then we then release this as a podcast, usually about a day later. So it's recorded. And that's how that works. If you are listening to this via podcast, we love you being here and we appreciate it. Share it. Come on, man. Please. Helps us out. We need more of that. But yeah. So this week, I am so stoked about this. Two of my favorite homies in the entire industry, but just in the community in general. I've been friends with these guys for a long time. Friends with Sam a really long time. We actually used to do Forza 5 Dime together. So way back in the day, way back in the hizzy. But the cats over at Abbott Auto Performance. So Mr. Jake Abbott and Sam Dooling. What up, guys?
Oh, just glad to be here. Back in the AC rather than sitting in the shop, so.
Yeah, and they ran their asses home. Jake, you only live like a couple minutes from the shop, right?
Yeah, right down the road, so it does make it convenient.
Yep. And which is helpful. Didn't you used to live quite a ways away from the shop? Or have you always just lived around the corner from it?
I moved closer, yeah. I was about probably 15, 20-minute drive before. Now I'm like 3 minutes, so it's makes it pretty easy. So
my parents actually lived like 3 to 5 minutes from you right up until last month. They finally sold that house and moved up to Baldwin. So.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep.
So,
So you guys.
is the family fully moved out of the Ravenna area?
Yeah. Well, no, my sister's still in Ravenna.
Oh, okay.
My sister moved all of 10 feet from where we grew up. So.
That's like one of my favorite things about you is that, like, you know, we always heard about you. We saw Boogeyman as we were kind of getting into Time Attack and getting into Grid Life. You know, we all knew about you. Sam obviously knew you well from Five Dime and also from, you know, going and asking you for parts and getting advice on stuff back when he was building his Bug Eye. And then we find out you're from Ravenna. You're like right down the road from us. So like, he's a local man.
Yeah. So you guys are Western Michigan. You're based out of Muskegon area. And I got to be real, there wasn't anything that remotely resembled a community when I left there. And I want to say it was 2007 is when I left there to go to Chicago. Like there was no community there whatsoever. And in the time period that I was gone to now, the community's exploded and you guys are killing it.
Things have definitely taken off around us. You know, there was a definite lack of, well, especially import services. You know, you got the dealerships. That's basically what we had around us. So it's kind of the idea of like how we even got the shop started was, I was working at a dealership and was like looking at how much people were getting price gouged and the fact that like nobody had, they'd have to go all the way either the east side or out of state to find somebody that would work on like performance Subarus in general. You know, and had a little bit of backing from a buddy of mine who used to own a shop in the Muskegon area, but, you know, never got huge with it. But, you know, I had that idea behind him and I said, yeah, let's run with it. So, I mean, the shop actually started as me basically wanting a space to work on race cars and do some flip cars on the side and just was sick of working out of my 2-car garage at home. I had done that for probably about 10 years. And I was like, you know what? I'm getting old enough. I'd really like a space with a hoist. And that's where it started. It was just like me opening up a garage for myself, basically, as I worked at the Subaru dealership. And
so when was that?
So that would have been 2020. I was working at Fox Subaru in Grand Rapids. And, you know, good people down there. It wasn't a bad place to work.
Yeah. That's kind of also the Midwest. COVID. Or sorry, that's like the Western Michigan Subaru dealer, if I remember right. They're kind of the big one.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was basically during the time of pretty heavy COVID restrictions and I was working there still. And, you know, I don't know, started thinking to myself, I was like, you know, maybe I take a stab at doing this myself. And I was getting busier and busier as I opened the place and just people, friends and family, really. A bunch of our good buddies, you know, come over and hang out and check out the shop, and they just tell people, hey, you know, my buddy Jake's got this little shop he's starting down the road, and he knows Subarus. And you know, one by one, people started kind of filtering in, and you know, through that, we've met a lot of people. It's all word of mouth still. We hardly advertise at all. You know, we just have people, you know, reaching out at all the local local online Subaru pages like Grand Rapids Subarus and My Subi, things like that. I mean, we're just constantly getting tagged and stuff because people have brought their stuff to us. We do a good job. We try to take care of their stuff. And then next thing you know, it's like, hey, my buddy of this buddy and this buddy. And like, it just flows in. So
that's the best way to gain business. You're going to get a much stronger customer base that way versus like trying to base it off of internet hype or something like that. You guys have done a really good job building a really good core. And you did it in a very short period of time in the grand scheme of things. Like I have to honestly say I'm truly impressed in how far you guys have come in the short period of time you've really been open or really been trying to like be Abbott Auto Performance. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you guys have been
and obviously, you know, Grid Life's a big part of our lives as well. Obviously, you know, we're at Grid Life, we're doing it. I tell the guys all the time, you know, we're there, be helpful, like reach out to people if they're, you know, we've worked on tons of people's cars. I don't know how many times have we worked on your car.
Yep.
There's
many hours spent on Boogie in one way or another, just because like sometimes you just need a particular type of help. And these are the first guys that come to mind when you need it. But I mean, you guys have worked on just about anything. It wasn't just Subarus. I mean, hell, you've helped with Honda work, Chevys, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so mainly, obviously, Abbott Auto Performance, we're known as the Subaru Specialist Shop, but we would do work on anything Japanese. That's kind of our niche, is just like trying to stick to the basic, Toyota, Nissan, Subaru, Mitsubishi, Honda, your basics basically, because they're all very similar. It's like a automotive language. It's like the German cars; they are a lot different in a lot of ways. Than a lot of the Japanese cars. Same with Americans and things like that. You got the domestics. They just aren't. They're not engineered the same. You got a different mindset.
They're not. They use goofy like Torx bits, and they use like 13 mil and 15 mil bolts, and
weird.
like, oh, it's obnoxious, dude. I can't even like. I want to punch. Anytime I have to work on a Mini, I want to punch it.
No. But yeah, so I mean, we're pretty stoked. We just got on the map with IAG officially. So we
very
finally
nice.
hit that point where it's just that's all we've been doing lately. It's just we just been selling IAG blocks, rebuilding cylinder heads, putting good
I'm not gonna lie. I've been
internals
sending
in
you
them.
guys a pretty decent amount of business. Like
Good.
I've been sending you a pretty good amount of business. I get phone calls, hey, who should I take this to or whatever, and especially if they're anywhere in West Michigan. You guys are the first place I throw out. But if they're like in the Midwest, you're in that conversation of like, these are guys that, I trust or we trust or whatever. Especially when it comes to like more track oriented stuff, I try to send as much of that towards you guys because I know you know what you're doing.
Right. Yeah. And we're always growing. It's like every month it seems like something's changed at the shop. We've gone from like literally when I was just looking through pictures, actually looking for pictures of Sam and I for that thumbnail. And I was like looking through, and all of a sudden I find these pictures from like back in 2020, 2021. And it's just an empty shop. There's like 2 hoists, and there's like a table in the corner. Like where my office is now, it was like a couple jet skis were stored up there. So it's cool to watch it like grow and kind of develop over time. And it's definitely not a multi-million-dollar shop by any means, but we definitely try and take care of our customers and do it right.
In addition to all the shop work, you guys live grid life. And when I think of grid life people, the 2 of you are at the top of my list. Especially like Sam doing all the tech work with a huge smile on his face. If I think of grid life, it's Sam and it's Jacob and it's the whole crew.
Look, for you to get on track, you have to, especially these days, at a certain point, it was kind of you guys' this whole crew, but these days, you see it all the time because Sam ends up in all of these YouTube videos because they have to make it through Sam for tech. And Sam, who is one of the nicest people I've ever met, you are a fucking Nazi.
Yeah, sir.
You're good at what you do, though. Sam, I've known you for a million years, man. We used to race together in Forza, and you've been building Subaru, your white Subaru, Frank, for like since the dawn of time. I swear to God,
that was my first car.
Yep, you've been at it for a minute, man. And it's awesome to see that you two teamed up. How did you guys meet? Was it more of just like a local Subaru meet, or how did that all happen?
Jake, I was so green and so new to this that I didn't even know how to pull my motor out. And I met a group of guys. They all invited themselves over to my house, and Jake was one of them. And within about 45 minutes back in 2017, we had the motor out of my car. And in the process of that, it took me 4 years and calling Dewey once a week to put it back together. And I finished it at the shop once I worked there. So like the whole entire process all came to be at Abbott Auto Performance.
Yeah.
So you learned.
He did. And that's like the best part about it, is that like Sam has grown and learned so much over the last, even 2 or 3 years really, as we were building the shop up and kind of growing. And the best part was he's the kind of worker you want, because you got to have somebody who wants to actually learn how to do it right, not just slap things together because they want to get it done. And he's taken meticulous time to go through, and do things right. And like even with the stuff that he wasn't able to do back in the day, like we still look back and are like, like when he first had Frank built, he had a guy do his cylinder heads, and the guy screwed him up. Like, and nowadays we realize that we're like, dude, he totally didn't like do the things he was supposed to do on this. And like now, like going through and doing all the rebuilds and kind of going through all the specifications and towards, doing it right the first time so it doesn't die. It doesn't have issues down the road because he didn't rush it. And that's the big, like, that's kind of like our motto really is like, hey, we're going to take care of your car because yeah, we might be a little longer on the draw to get your project done than like a huge performance shop. But in the long run, you're getting like, one-on-one with your own tech that's like taking the time. And it's not just even in the engine, but like the appearance of it when you get it back. Cleaning the engine bay out and like making sure like lines are routed right. Your wiring's not all over the place. Like it's the little things that really count when it comes down to that eventually will help not have random stuff go on in the future.
Oh, build it once, build it right, build it once, not twice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you're the only shop in the area, you don't want these people coming back because you probably have 100 people lined up behind them.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't want to. So what I will say is when I was in that area or the people I dealt with in that area, even after I left, there were some less than fantastic shops, maybe closer to the Grand Rapids area, that really didn't specialize in Subarus, but were screwing around with them and really messing them up. Like Western Michigan really needed a Subaru shop. And it's really cool to see that the shop kind of came from the community. It was not, some shops screwing around with Subarus and they're like, oh, we just get a whole bunch of them. That's why we do them. It was like you guys were enthusiasts before you started the shop.
Which helps a lot, because it's like we have a passion. We realize Subaru is like it really is like a community of people that love these cars. And like when somebody brings, like, for example, we have one of our biggest builds to date coming right now on a guy's car, and it's like a Blob WRX, but it was the guy's first car he ever bought back in high school. He's like 28 now, but he's kept it this whole time, and he had some engine issues and things like that. And he talked to us. He's like, honestly, man, like I want to do this right, and I want to like put everything I've always wanted to on this car. And it's grown from like he came in and he was going to do like an IAG fuel setup. We're going to get the lines and the rails and get him a set of injectors for the thing and get it tuned. And then he's like, we go through and beforehand, because obviously if we do any tuning, we always tell people like, hey, we have to pre-tune inspect this. We're going to compression test it. We're going to leak down test. We're going to boost leak test. We're going to coolant pressure test it, like fuel pressure test, like everything we're going to do before we even get in that car to put a laptop to it, because we don't want to have the tuner have to deal with like trying to work his way around something that's wrong in the first place. And we save people money in the long run, because a lot of times they do catch, hey, you got a cylinder that's 20 psi lower. This isn't going to go well for you.
Yep.
And so it's kind of where that went, and a lot of times that's what we find. We start people off and they're like, well, why do I got to do these tests to start off, like before you guys do any engine work and like performance stuff? And I'm like, because we don't want you to have to pay for this 3 times in a row. And because you're not going to like us by the end of that. You're going to, for one, you're going to be financially crippled after it. And for 2, you're not going to like us anymore, because you're going to be like, well, why didn't they tell me the first time?
By the end of it, you end up with a half-assed project and everybody's mad.
Yeah.
And that sucks. I tell you what, my favorite projects to do, though, still to this day, are people who are like, I've always wanted to build this. I'm now in a financial position to build this, and I want to do it right. Those are so much fun. I think my favorite one I've done to date is Chuck. He's now out in Colorado. But he was a big bug eye guy around the Chicago area for a long time. And then he went off and did a bunch of business stuff, ended up selling his business, and came back. He's like, all my buddies went and bought Ferraris and stuff when we sold out. Like, I want to build a bug eye and I want to build it really right. And man, it's incredible, because you kind of don't have to pull punches, and you get to kind of do the dream stuff you always wanted to do. Filippo's another one. Filippo's a really good example where Filippo's like, I want to do it right. And then you kind of get to do the dream stuff. You know what I mean? Like you present it to him and go, it would be pretty sick if we did this, but it ain't going to be cheap. you know, and then they're like, you know, that would be sick, and then you get to do it, you know.
Dude, yeah.
100%.
We're
It's
doing one
really
year.
fun doing those kinds of builds and like
Oh, they're the
watching, you know,
best.
like just get, you know, when you know that they're like, I want the best of the best on this car. I want to make this like, you know, and we always preset like a horsepower goal. And, you know, and our goal is always, which is why we use strictly like all we ever do at the shop is simply like for motor builds, things like that. Your choices are either you can go with a JDM motor if it's, you know, if you're really budgeted, we can find you a JDM motor and just get you back in their stock, but still modify it. It's either that or a brand new OEM Subaru block right from the dealer, or we get IAG only. And that's like, they're like, well, what about this or what about this? And we're just like, we trust this brand for a reason because we see it working. Like the things we've seen, the people that have built their cars properly, like this is why we use this, you know. And that's why we love you guys, because obviously it's like you're actually offering something that does hold up. We don't see issues like I've had other brands, you know, we all know other brands out there that are claiming to be really great and better and blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden we see like issue after issue after issue, and it's kind of like sweep it under the rug. It's like, you know, you guys have always been upfront with things, and honestly, the quality is out of this world for all the products we get for you guys. And that's why we sell so much of it. You know, it's like we know we want to put the best stuff on people's cars. I'd rather not take away from their experience by saving them a few $100 up front for a cheaper product and then having issues down the road, and they're like, well, what do I do? And I have to look them right in the eyes and be like, you're gonna have to buy the better stuff.
Yeah, and that's the worst. That like they spend a ton of money, and you know they cut just a couple of corners, and then they've got to do it all over again, but this time do it right. Like nothing's better than like somebody coming back after some big project you did, and everything's working out great, and they're like, okay, I want to like do other things. You know, that part is working great. I love it when somebody comes back to me after I talk them out of 600 horsepower into 450, and then they come back and they're like, hey man, like I want to like do suspension now. I'm like, sweet, this is awesome. How's that 450 work? Dude, it's the best. Like I'm just, you know, let's do some other cool stuff. Let's do cool stuff. Let's do it.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
We even have we have 3 different engines in the shop right now from IAG, all different. And they're all beautiful. That's our first 2-liter build we're doing, one of the 750 2-liter builds.
Ooh, you're
getting. I'm excited.
I don't know how many more of those we're going to be doing. So you might be getting one of the last ones.
Okay. Well, it's beautiful.
Just fair warning. Yeah, the guys, our engine department cares. They really do, and that's one of those things that people hear that. And I was one of those people. I don't. The thing I used to say back in the days were IAG's Burger Kinging engines, because they were built on essentially an assembly line. But to me, when you say assembly line, it sounds like people don't care. And that's not really what it is. It's just each person within that cares about that exact process a ton, and it's drastically different. Enrique, no more 2-liter builds. There's a pretty good chance we're going to be phasing out the 2 liters. I got to be real. We just don't sell enough of them, and we have other options. Enrique's in the chat asking about this. There are, at a certain point, you really got to ask, what sense does it make? So if you've got a bug eye, okay, and you shit your engine, instead of putting a 2-liter back in it, in my opinion, you'd be better served by getting one of our 750 international hybrids and slapping stock heads on it, because it's set up for that, and gaining that mid-range that you're missing. If you're building a race car and you're building
2.5 in a bug eye, hold on.
Blasphemy.
Okay, and then if you are if you're trying to build like a track car or something like that, and you're looking for the revs of the 2-liter, you're better off with a 2.3D stroker. So I'm having a very, like, we are all having a very hard time at this point justifying 2 liters. I don't know how much longer they're going to be in the lineup.
I never thought I'd see that day, especially from a juggernaut like IAG. Holy cow.
It took us forever to get them to even do 2 liters. I had one of the first production 2 liters.
I remember. Yeah.
Yes. And
Man, I want to order
honestly,
one
they
now.
didn't sell great.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people when they go into building their car anyways, they're probably looking for that extra torque curve and things like that. So other engine blocks do make sense, but there still are those people that just want to like keep it, like the guy, like I said, the newest one we had where it was his first car, a blob ice building up. That's the 2 liter we're putting in, and it's because he's like, well, I want to keep it a 2 liter.
By all means,
let's do it.
Man, have a good time.
Yeah.
And it's not that that's going to be a bad setup. It's just in the future. Let's say he does turn this thing up, and let's say something unfortunate happens. An injector shits, something runs lean, we pop a hole in the thing, and we're like, hey, man, well, the block for some reason gets totally trashed. Because the block's fine. We can build another 2 liter. Pistons are easy to get. But it would behoove him to send his heads to us. We open them up for a 2.5 combustion chamber, and you put a 2.3D stroker in it. He's going to gain 1,000 RPM down low and lose nothing.
Yeah, very true.
More torque, but still the high red line.
That was the problem I was having. Like, I had this. I was the 2 liter guy. I was the 2 liter guy, okay? And like, I refused to hear it until I did it, and now
was it still at the 2 liter when you went to Laguna last year?
No, it's 2.35.
No. I went 2.3 when
That's right. You were 2.3.
The first time I ran on the 2.3 was last year at Rev Up. That was the first time. So I had the 2.3 in it when I was hanging out in your shop for that week.
Yeah, that's right.
With the hole in the radiator.
Coming over doing projects with your wife. That was pretty fun.
That was fun, man. We had a whole week of hanging out together and trying to weld the worst header in history back together.
Yeah. But I love that you guys went back and I remember you talked to me. You're like, oh, I really like the setup, and I was just like, yeah, you should. I feel like this would work really good. And then next thing you know, Dylan's got the thing just immaculate, all the things, the little hints and thing I was trying to push you to do, and then all of a sudden it's just all there. I'm like, yes, I love it.
A lot of it was, do we get the fuck out of the way? It's really what it was. It was it took some I'm okay at some shit, but I'll be the first to tell you I'm not a mechanic. Okay. And because I'm not. But yeah, it takes somebody like you or somebody like Dylan, looking at it's something in a particular way, and things change really quick. So
right.
So in addition to these nice guys working on your car, they also hooked it up in one way in particular that I thought was really, really cool. So
a giant sticker on the roof?
Not quite. So you had a special project that needed yellow bug-eye parts, and you found them in Western Michigan at Abbott Auto Performance.
Well, I kind of forgot about that too. So, you guys hooked me up when I was I was on this Discovery show called The Getaway Driver, and we had this really shit box yellow bug-eye that was rusting away. Okay, and we needed a few parts for it, especially the front end was all jacked up and it was a real mess. Okay. And I was just hoping for any color. I didn't really care, but I threw a feeler out there, and you guys hit me up that you had basically everything that I needed in Sonic Yellow up at your shop. And we actually made a really ugly car not completely ugly, and we didn't look bad for the show.
I'm not gonna lie. When I watched the episode of you guys drilling holes through that beautiful, immaculate yellow hood.
Oh, he was so mad.
I was like, oh my God, dude, what are you doing?
It's a bug-eye, first of all, and it's in a limited edition color. That car came out in 2002. So,
that was a 1 year color in 2003.
Blaze yellow was too.
And then,
right.
So the people, if you haven't messed around with bug eyes or actually looked at the bug eye market, finding a bug eye hood without dents in it is nearly impossible because they all dent right near the latch. And this was perfect. And it was not only a rare color, but this hood was mint. But
It was
I
so
was
nice.
literally throwing it on this car to go do a gladiator fight. So like we didn't really
Which we didn't know at the
feel too
time. You
bad.
kind of gave us little hints and things. You're like, I can't talk about it too much, but we're doing this thing with this thing.
They
And
wouldn't let me talk about it.
Right.
I know.
It's really
I know.
cool. I drove that car, and man, that thing was a riot.
Yeah, it was called like the Rusty
Raccoon.
Right? Yeah,
Yep.
Rusty Raccoon.
Yeah.
Yep,
All
because
torque.
it was
Yeah.
rusty and there was a raccoon living in it. And it smelled like complete raccoon shit.
That was awful. I vacuumed up like pounds of rust out of that chassis. It was insane.
Like a testament, though, of those chassis. You can really brace them up still and make them good, even if they are a little rusty.
Yeah.
Oh, those things are so sound. Like GD chassis still to this day are my favorite chassis.
100%.
That ever came from Subaru. I'm sorry, it's just they're so good.
What was that engine
They're
build
so
again?
versatile.
Yep.
That engine build was it was the 2.0 heads blown out to what, 2.5
It was 2.0. It was single AVCS 2.0 heads that were popped out. No, they were actually dual AVCS, so we made single AVCS
right.
that were popped out to a 2.5 liter combustion chamber, and then we had
That unknown
like
motor.
that unknown motor that we're pretty sure was like a 9.5 to 1 compression ratio, and then we
Yep.
paired that with a JDM later, so version 10 or newer twin scroll OEM turbo
Yeah.
and a short ratio gearbox, and that thing fucking ripped. We made 360 wheel horsepower and like 440 foot pounds.
Yep.
It was nuts.
That was a pure
What
rally
other,
car, and I think it was on oh gosh, what was the suspension? Flat out?
Yeah,
Flat out
flat out.
suspension?
They're
Gravel
like
suspension.
they're rally coilovers.
God, that was
It
so
was,
much
it was
fun.
fun to watch. It was fun watching that car get built, especially like knowing that we had a little bit of a hand in it, and being able to get some panels. And it was cool watching the episode, like on live TV, and being able to be like, oh man, look at that.
I always
We were
looked at
part
you
of it.
guys as like the sister shop to Six Star. Like, even though like I doubt that relationship still remains. Like, that's how I tried to look at you guys. I loved helping you guys. I don't know. You guys have always, maybe it's the hometown connection or whatever, but I've always loved hanging out with you guys.
Yeah,
Even
no,
before you were
it's-
doing
I don't know.
Grid Life stuff. Oh, there's a freaking Grid Life story that I just remembered. You guys are the ones who stuck that Michael Phelps like picture of him where he had like nuts or something inside of my inside of the STI at Road Atlanta.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Was that you guys?
That was Matt and Pete Studeman. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was
okay,
still
so it was
Muskegon
your
boys.
crew. That was
Yeah,
your
well,
crew.
Yeah, so Pete does a lot of our tuning.
I still have that.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Cardboard cutout of Michael Phelps.
So weird.
Yeah, it's cool that because obviously Matt. Obviously,
Yeah.
you've had your car over at his house for a long time. Yeah, because like Matt was like integral in like being able to help me like get the shop started. We actually went in and on like a joint project to both have a hoist. Again, it was like started up as like, hey man, let's just like get a couple hoists and like have a shop space that we can share rent on and stuff. And life got in the way for him. It got busy and he was starting a new business and stuff. And he was just like, yeah, it's too much for me. But he was the one that kind of got that like motivation of things getting started. He also was the reason I actually started like driving in time attack because at the time, and I still have this car, and it's gone through 9,000 renditions, but I have a 99 Legacy wagon. It's a Brighton edition, lightest chassis possible. Right now it's got like an EG33 in it.
Yeah.
Full 6-speed,
Fantastic.
everything. A bunch of really cool stuff. It's a lot of work and a lot of time into the car. We were actually thinking about maybe drifting it soon, just switching it to like a BRZ trans and having some fun out there. But long story short, I had that car in the middle of a build, and I kept saying to Matt, like, I want to go drive this on track, and I want to, see what it can do, and blah blah blah. And he just was like, well, how long is it going to take you to finish that thing? I was like, well, I have a lot of stuff I have to do, and like a giant laundry list. And he's like, what do you have right now that runs and drives? I was like, well, I just bought this Impreza off of Copart, and he's like, just use it. He said, just do basic maintenance on it and go bring it to the track and start driving, man. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And I was like, don't I have to do like a bunch of this shit and like everything's got to be race card out, right? And he's like, no, like he was like the first person. I'm like, that's my motto nowadays. I tell guys, I'm like, just make sure your car's gonna be reliable and then get out on track. Like if you have the chance to go
Yep.
drive your car on track, it doesn't
Go
matter
do
if
it.
you have a crazy race car. You can go drive a stock Outback. Like
It
and,
is so hard to explain that to people. Like, just go. Stop trying to build for the track and just fucking go.
absolutely. You know, and
That's
I'm
why
all
I'm
about that. You know, I want people to get seat time and be able to like actually have the experience out there. And then you actually get to see like the difference your modifications to your car do as you progress the car forward, because you didn't just like build it to the moon and then take it out and like, oh, I'm slow. It's like
Yep.
you can actually go take that car as it is, still have the basic safety things and make sure your car is like, you're gonna get caught by us if, especially Sam. He's gonna find your ass if you try to bring a leaky Subaru that is smoking out the tailpipe through tech inspection at Grid
Yeah,
Life.
you don't want none
We're
of
gonna
that.
find
He's
out.
gonna eat you up, dude. Sam's no
But no,
joke.
I mean, like I just like that idea though. Like I tell people all the time, I'm like, I get a lot of customers and they're like, well, I want to build this and I want to do track work. I'm like, dude, definitely should. But I said, like, if you have a chance, like instead of like doing everything you think you have to do just to go to track, I said, just bring your car there, man. Seat time is the most important thing you could possibly have when it comes to track driving. Just get out there and get on track and feel the car out. And then, when you put that big brake kit on your car, you see the difference. It's not like you just did it all up
Yep.
front and then you have to learn to drive it with that. Like you learn on the lesser stuff. And by the time you figure out how to do that, then all of a sudden you upgrade and you're like, oh my God, this is so much easier.
And even
Yeah, it
even on
changes
top of
everything.
all that, that first track day he went to with that car was my first track day, and I was his crew chief, and I just cooked food for him all weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
You even learned a ton from that. Let's be real. Just be.
Oh yeah, underrated. The
That's
support crew, 100% underrated.
so like
This is another
when
thing I
Sam
try to
reached out
tell
to me.
people. Just go. Just even
Yeah.
if you don't have a car and you can go drive, just go to the event and hang out.
Yeah, so at that time, like Sam reached out to me because like we had known each other. Like I went over and saw Frank and we hung out a little bit, just like kind of friends of friends. And he hit me up out of the blue, and he knew I was going to. It was spring kickoff, like 2021, I want to say, maybe no 2020 actually.
Yeah, it was.
And he was like, yeah, I'm gonna go. He finds out, hey, we're going to this Grid Life event, and he's like, all right, hits me up. He's like, hey man, I really just want to like be there. Like I can be the dude that just like cooks you guys food and everything. And I was like, hell yeah, dude. Are you kidding me? I was like,
Oh,
I got
yeah.
2 crew passes. I
Let's
was like,
go,
you can
brother.
come. So he came. Dude, you should have seen this. He was like Master Chef the weekend, dude. He had a giant Blackstone out. He was sitting there grilling up like all sorts of meats and foods. He had like breakfast for us. It was ridiculous.
I am not surprised,
so
and I'm
good.
thoroughly impressed.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so much fun. Those are the days. We didn't have time to cook anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't even have time to think anymore. Isn't it crazy
Well,
how it was like
yeah.
it's like a light switch? So Sam, before you worked for Abbott, what were you doing?
I was a marine technician working on boats in Grand Rapids.
You care to tell what company you were working for or not? It's okay.
I was
if you say
working.
no.
I was working. It was Tommy's boats. I was
Yeah.
just working at a failing company at the time.
I knew
And-
you hated your life. You hit me up multiple times, like, dude, I can't do this anymore. I'm like, bro,
Yeah.
go hit up Jake. Like,
Yeah, and
that
actually-
dude needs you.
because of that weekend, I had known Jake, and that original motor I had built for me blew up on the way to work after 2,000 miles. And I hit up Jake asking
No.
for a truck and trailer. And then, yeah, we did it. I wasn't even working for him then, but he let me use the shop and he let me use his truck and trailer. And I got it back successfully. I pulled the motor out, and then we realized the motor that I paid money for to get built had stock internals in it.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
Wow,
that's
awful.
to this day lights a fire under my ass to build these motors correctly.
Yeah,
I mean,
and-
you know what it feels like to get screwed, and that's one of the things that'll stop you from ever even remotely crossing your mind.
Yeah,
And
that was tough.
I think that kind of needs to happen to everybody. I got my ass fucking destroyed by somebody and refused to ever do stuff like that. It
Yeah.
changes.
I did too. I lost a lot of money,
Yeah.
but here we are.
Yeah, it happens to
Yeah.
the best of us, honestly, and it's terrible. We have honestly a bit of a plague of that even in Michigan. There's a few names out there, and I won't put their
Yeah, we
names
don't need to
out,
go into that, but yeah.
but they're like known people that have like, and for some reason, people continually bring their cars to these guys, and like they're like known on a lot of like the pages now as like don't don't even do business with these people. They're so bad. But they had tons of customers that they'd like. I think one guy in specific, we've had over. I think we have like it's like 8 customers now that have had like he was charging them tons of money to do like these jobs. They take over a year to get their car back, and when they got it back, it wasn't right. It's leaking oil. It's got all sorts of problems, and then the guy would just ghost them. It's like same old things. Like it's just people getting screwed has driven me to be like, how do we do this so these people will be absolutely ecstatic about their car when they get it back?
I mean, it's a
How do we?
massive problem with our industry. I mean,
It
anybody
is.
really wants a good example of what this looks like. If you've ever heard the whole T-Pain story of what happened with him in a shop down in Atlanta, that is everywhere in this industry. So finding somebody you can trust shouldn't be as hard as it is, but it's damn near impossible.
It
And
is.
one thing about our shop is you can't walk in it without seeing your car being worked on the hoist. Like it's really easy to take 2 more steps and just look in the back. And then
Yep.
yeah, we are so honest. We'll go show somebody what's wrong with your car and be right up front with them every time, and it works. Just
And
honesty.
there's no reason not to be that. You know what I mean? There's no reason not to be that. There's no reason not to be just totally upfront. I've never
Yeah.
understood that about, some shops or just some people. I've worked with people who were they were shady as hell for absolutely no reason. No reason to be
Yeah.
that. And the second the shadiness goes away, like the profits go up. It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense.
That's the
I
worst
know.
part about it, is that it turns out making profits actually really easy if you just stop being shady.
Just do the right thing.
God bless. It's
When
terrible.
they pay you money, order the parts.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's like
If you
part
need
of what
help
I've
because you
heard,
got too
like,
much
guys
work
have,
to
like-
do,
Yeah.
ask for help.
Well, a lot of times I think guys get over their head too. They start
They
taking on
do.
these jobs, and like all of a sudden they're like, "Oh my god, I already spent all the money this guy gave me for this build," because they're behind on stuff. And like it's a dangerous game. You hear it in like house contracting and things like that too. Like guys will literally take on another job, take down payment on it just to pay for what they have to do to finish another job. Well, what do you do at the next job when you come to it? You got to go find another guy
That's
to pull money off of just to be
Mhm.
able to pay for something. It's like you can't be doing that, man. Like it's such a toxic way of working, and especially trying to like, especially when you're dealing with people's personal items, especially when it comes to these cars where they like absolutely love them and they
Yup.
want them to be right. They want them to be the way they want them to be. That their dream of this car is they want it to come together how they wanted, they envisioned, and then they get screwed over by somebody and tons of money into it. And it's just like that's such a sad story to hear when you're dealing with somebody's like, their personal project car that they really want to be that, that dream project. So
It's like
Yeah,
most of my
people get
job.
real passionate about these, and so the emotions get really high. And you're always better off delivering somebody bad news, like, "Hey, man, like, let's say you're a small shop and you quoted something funky. Hey, we gotta talk about this because this ain't gonna work." The worst case scenario, the guy comes and picks up, but the last thing you want to do is get in some like, having to borrow from the next project to make it work or anything like that. That's you're just gonna create a waterfall of shit. And
Right.
yeah,
half
that
of my
never
job
works out.
is half of my job at Abbott Auto Performance is taking these projects that were just left to rot and somehow bring them back one part and one bolt at a time, and like the bill racks up. But every time I find something, we give the customer a call. We tell them, hey, this is missing, that's missing, or broken, and it's like same day.
Yeah,
Ordered
and
up.
just having that open line of communication helps too.
Well,
Hey.
the way we do a lot of our stuff is like when we quote people, we preemptively let them know, like, "Hey, I know you think your bottom end of your motor is just bad, but just realize there's a good chance that all that metal decided to go ripping through your cylinder heads, and it went in through your turbo and all sorts of other stuff. And I said, like, our quotes are built initially to basically cover all that stuff. And we tell them up front, if it's not needed, we're going to have pictures on the work order. We're going to text you. You're going to get a link. You're going to see this stuff. If it's needed, you'll know. Like, if you want to come and see it in person, do it. Like, we want to let them know up front, though. That's a big part of, like, why I don't want to give a quote and say, hey, man, yeah, we're just going to, like, take your heads off this blown up engine and we're going to slap them on IAG block. It's like, we're not doing that. We actually require every single cylinder head that is pulled off of any Subaru engine. They go for, first, it's full inspection to check the cam journals. And then secondly, it's full rebuild every time, no matter what. We will not put non-rebuild heads on an IAG block because I don't want to have, the block lose oil because a valve seal is bad because it's a 200,000 mile set of cylinder heads. But that's the kind of stuff you see being put out.
All the
Unfortunately,
time.
a lot of time. All the time.
All the time.
And that's where Subaru get such a bad rep, especially the turbo ones. People are like, oh, they're just so unreliable. And it's like, no, it's mostly because people are putting them together improperly. They're not fully inspecting what could actually cause future failures.
Yep. They're just, the second you cut corners with these things, you get burnt. Subarus aren't unreliable. Subarus are just not tolerant of cutting corners. It's really all it is.
Whatsoever.
At all. Whatsoever. And it doesn't make them, if you do everything right, they can be super solid.
Yeah, 100%.
What the fuck do I know? So you guys got some cool projects floating around there. You guys have done some dune stuff. That's that's one of the cool things about being in West Michigan. You got Silver Lake Sand Dunes not too far from you. Obviously you've built some track sluts there. What other cool projects you got floating around the shop these days?
Well, personally, I've been buying all sorts of stupid cars that I don't need, but man, I just have a problem. So
yeah,
I now own I now own my third BRZ platform for some reason.
Why? I know you got your BRZ that you put a K in.
You're gonna like this one. So the newest one we've decided on. I found it. A guy down in Indiana. He ended up crashing the thing. It was like his daughter's car. It's like wrapped purple. He was like trying to show off to his buddies in his parking lot, and he decided to lose the control of the drift and like send it right into the side of his shop. So he's
I already love everything about this story.
So that's what we've always been about. I have a sickening obsession over like taking cars that people are giving up on and just bringing them back to life into an awesome track car. That's what my BRZ was. You saw it, I think, at Six Star still. I brought it in there I drove all the way down to Kansas to get that thing, and I drove up and stopped at Six Star to get parts from you guys. And I remember like talking about the discussions, things like that. But yeah, like a lot of the, especially the cars we put on track, were like, if we can save this car, we could start with a lot lower initial investment, and then we can just do what we want with it. So as long as it's
track sluts, cars like that you're turning into track sluts, you can drive a little bit harder because you really don't give a shit if it dies.
Exactly. I didn't go out and buy that BRZ for $15K used from a guy, and then I pull the motor out and do all the work I've done to it. It's like that car I bought that BRZ for $2,000. It's like
exactly. So if maybe you have a little bit of an off and maybe rub a tire wall, you're not going to be so mad if you just got to smack it with a hammer.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what all of our cars have, like, test fit, the fit that Sam's driving this year. Yep. That car was literally mangled at Watkins Glen last year by a good buddy of ours, Matt Dietland. He ended up losing it in the rain. Unfortunate wreck, did quarter panel damage, twisted the front frame rails pretty good. He brought it out to a shop, a frame shop and everything, and they gave him a quote, and he's like, it's just not worth it. We get the thing, and like we did some awesome work on that. I literally bought a whole nother fit off of Copart that was ass packed just so that I could take the whole front frame rail section and be able to chop it off where we needed it, and then be able to straighten everything back as good as possible with literally and we're using I have two big solid metal posts out in front of my shop.
Okay.
And we just tie the cars down to those, and then we'll just tug left or right, and then we get it checked.
So
dude,
you got tug posts.
Man. We got tug posts, dude.
Yes.
And It works well enough, especially for a race car.
If you guys want West Michigan in a nutshell, if you want to know what like proper Michigan shit is, you're hearing it right now.
Remember, this is only for our shit because we don't care as much.
Oh yeah.
When it comes to customers, we would never do such a thing. But when it comes to our race cars that we're gonna beat on all day long.
Oh yeah, dude. You guys are about the shenanigans, so
yeah.
You look at that car. You look at that car and you cannot even tell it hit a wall. It's damn straight.
Yeah. She's a unit now.
It's so good.
Yeah. So anyway, back to the other BRZ story. So now I have this other BRZ. I actually have two of them. I bought another one. That one's not important right now. The other one soon will be. I'm actually going to start development on a very easy to do, hopefully replicatable and maybe sellable 3.6 liter swap for them.
Yeah.
So that's in the works right now because obviously we all know those who follow Club TR rules. There's still a very big loophole with a 3.6 being put in a BRZ or FRS or whatever you want to choose.
Yes.
They're lighter, they're rear-wheel drive, they're good track cars, definitely. But there is a part of me. We obviously did the K24 swap in ours, and I love it. It's a lot of fun. It's awesome. But there's still a part of me that goes, we got to have something Subaru out there, like full Subaru. We got to be running a boxer engine of some sort.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. Okay,
so we have plans of a lot of cool things.
I'll bring my shit box up there. We'll stick a 3.6 in it, and I'll run it in GLTC.
Definitely, and that's the idea behind it. Like that's our goal is to get into GLTC eventually. We're kind of working our way there, get more track experience, and then be able to kind of get into that stuff as well. Because it's just kind of where everything leads. But yeah, that's the idea. That's coming soon. I'm gonna try and be working on it over the winter time and hopefully get it all completed before spring. Maybe even sooner than that. I already have the motor on order, like it's coming. It'll be here next week. And then we're gonna basically start by figuring out the easiest way to make it so it's plug and play. Which is some pretty cool ideas. I'm planning on actually using the distribution board that K-Power actually built to plug into the Haltech and stuff like that. And from there, we're going to use wire allocation changes on the Haltech to basically be able to tell the ECU, hey, this pin is now this, so that we can, in theory, may be able to just plug a 3.6 in with our reallocated pin out and just simply make it run. And that's our hope behind it. I'm pretty positive on it because I've been doing a lot of research lately. I'm pretty positive it's actually a very doable thing.
I bet you it wouldn't be too hard to make one of those new Link plug and plays work either.
Absolutely, yeah. I would totally be down for that as well. Link has been awesome to us. They're like our favorite new people. We have been putting them in all sorts of stuff lately. So like anybody who has basically we tell them.
The only person I know who hates Link, and he ain't even in here, so we can't even talk. Oh yeah, there he is. Okay, Dylan hates Link. Hates Link.
Why?
Hates Link.
Got some explaining to do.
I don't. He just hates it.
Well, we love it because it makes it so it's a plug and play option that we can add more stuff to. It's it's less invasive than a lot of the other. There's other companies doing plug and play stuff.
Sure.
But we like their tuning software. And especially when I'm able to just swap out a board and slap it right into an OEM ECU box. And then add in an extra loom so I can put a bunch of extra stuff on there that they normally couldn't do. Especially with the new ones like VA platforms, things like that. We do a lot of open source tuning.
I got new stuff coming. Hold on. You shouldn't even talk about open source tuning. Don't be talking about that. I can get nasty in here. Either way, hold on. What we're gonna use this as a little bit of segue since we're talking about Link because something big actually happened last week. So for the longest time, you couldn't get anything newer than a 2010 for a plug-and-play Link.
Yeah.
Their G4X. Guess what? They're on the shelf for 2011 plus STIs.
They are.
How
we
are
about to use one.
My God, that's what's up. That's huge.
Definitely
that's huge because they're really all the VA STIs and late GRs. You had to do weird patch harnesses and shit, and it wasn't right, especially with the really new ones. There were people trying to do weird piggyback shit and stuff. Nah, you don't got to do any of that. It just works.
It's just plug and play. I love it. It makes things
sick.
Easy. And
we got a really, really badass podcast coming up that you guys are going to want to listen in on. So we're going to have Mike McGinnis, we're going to have Graham, and we're going to have Sam
Hubin.
from Yep, Sam Hugh Bin from Dialed In Motorsports. All three of them on the podcast at the same time. And basically, it's just Warranty and I moderating and dropping questions. But we're going to make them
I'm moderating.
kind of,
You're yelling.
Okay. I'm probably going to yell a bunch. I'm going to deliver the questions, and then he's going to moderate. But either way,
Right.
we're basically going to have them, as tuners, rank they're basically go through their likes and dislikes of each tuning platform for modern Subarus, all the way from like a frickin' open source or maybe a Mega Squirt, UTEC and all of that shit, all the way up to a Motec. And I think it's going to be one of the best episodes we've ever done. We're doing that in 2 weeks. It's going to be
there's a lot of great minds coming to that podcast. That will be exciting.
That's going to be a crazy one.
Yeah, Graham is actually the one that kind of put us on to Link. We knew of them obviously, but mainly we saw opportunities to use their stuff until like Graham got on we had a long discussion about like why they could be a really good choice for the shop, and then we like reached out Justin Medina, who was like at rep there. He's a drift guy, has an awesome S2K. They're great people to work with. Like literally, we wanted to get this thing done, and we had a car that we had an IAG block, and we were trying to get this car done for a guy who was an 07 STI, and he had some things he really wanted to run, and it just wasn't going to work with the other platforms. And we talked to Graham about it, and he's like, dude, hit up the guys at Link. So we hit up the guys at Link, and they literally they were about to be closed, and it was like Friday, and I was like, dude, we like need this car done for this kid like desperately by Sunday. So I literally drove out to Detroit, and I met him at his own personal shop, and he's like, yeah, here it is, man. Like we prepaid
what
for
a
it, picked
boss.
it up. Like
what a boss.
Yeah, dude, it was great. Like, and he was even willing. He was like, dude, honestly, if you want to meet like halfway and like I could drive to Lansing, I could probably make that happen. Like, I was like, dude, you don't have to do all that, man. Like, it's really cool to see that though. Like, customer service is a big thing to me when we're working with these companies, and like when I have a company who's willing to like work with us and like understands like we have needs too, not just like, hey man, sorry, it's gonna be like another 6 months before you ship something. It's like that doesn't work out. So
no.
I really like Link, not gonna lie. They seem to be a pretty well put together company and offering a pretty cool product.
I'm excited about that, and I'm excited about hearing you guys are having good experiences with Link. Yeah, if you guys are about to stick one of those in a new STI, let me know how that goes. I'm sure it's going to be fine, but I want to hear about it. So
yeah,
post it up in the IAG Insiders Subaru Lounge.
Definitely,
awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anything else interesting happening around there? I know you guys were having a conversation about expanding. What came of that? Are you guys still working on that? What's going on?
We are still working on it. Unfortunately, kind of got screwed out by the seller of the building we were looking at. So we're still in our same location, and honestly, we love our location. It's a little cramped, but we have we're a 4-hoist shop. We're working out at about 3,000 square foot, but we make it work. And it honestly is. It's a great location where it's at. It's right off the highway. 2 main highways run right next to it. They're really easy to get to. And we got a lot of storage for different projects and cars and things like that we do. So for the time
you got
being,
a lot of open space there that you can outside that you can throw all sorts of random shit like the 15 BRZs you own or
exactly
whatever.
all my dump projects I buy. Yeah, it's like never ending. I actually just picked up I had a stupid trade deal that I ended up getting, which is like I have a weird thing for second gen legacies. That was like my first Subaru I ever had to learn to work on when I was like 14 years old, and from there, like it was like a love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
And so now I just got this trade deal from another car I had for it's a 97 Legacy GTB twin turbo right-hand drive Japan import. Pretty cool.
Twin turbo.
That's sick. That's sick.
So, twin turbo is terrible. Don't get me wrong.
No,
I got a good deal on it because it already needs a motor. But our plan is to do some pretty saucy stuff. I have a fully like immaculate drivetrain. It's a fully rebuilt STI 6-speed out of an 07. I have like all the goodies, custom drive shaft R180 that's already been rebuilt. I have like brand new OEM axles. I have powder coated hubs. I've got like every bit and piece for this thing to become like full 6-speed swapped. And then we're probably going to get a, we're going to be looking at IAG block for it and building up from there. Doing like a mild build still. I'm not planning to make, I don't know about driving these guys that drive right-hand drive cars with like 500-600 horsepower. Props to you, because it is so unnatural for me to be shifting with my left hand.
Dude, you get used to it. The second you drive that car for a month, you will get used to it.
I'm sure I will.
I had we did a whole build on some dude's WRX wagon. Like it was like a 95 WRX wagon. When I was at 6-Star, and we were having some tuning issues, so we needed to put like a decent amount of miles of. It was Graham and I driving back and forth when he was there for tuning, driving back and forth to my house, which was about 45 minutes away from 6-Star, and every day. So I would drive that through traffic and everything. You learn really fast, and it actually starts to become kind of natural.
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, I've driven a handful of them because we kind of become the spot for it. We've become the shop for like right-hand drive cars now, because like I don't know of anybody else who's touching them, especially for like full engine rebuilds, which we've done on like Skylines and stuff like Sam had an RB25 like completely torn down a few months ago. Going through it, and like people are scared of them because like you can't go to an auto parts store or a dealership and be like, hey, I need parts for this. They're not there. So we have a bunch of hookups that we've actually already created that we've been using for the last couple of years in Japan, who actually are shipping us directly from Japan the OEM parts for these cars. So we become kind of the spot where people are like, yo, if you have a right-hand drive car, bring it here, because you're never going to find those parts.
Dude, I think that's only going to get crazier and crazier as more people, it's getting easier and easier to import those cars.
It is,
here soon, you're going to start to be able to get, bug eyes and shit. And I think you're going to see a massive influx in bug eyes. Like, I think you're going to, like, bug eyes and JDM STIs of that time period, I think they're going to start pulling real money. And you're going to start seeing them all over the place. So,
I
Sam,
agree.
what's going on with Frank?
Definitely there.
Yeah, actually, I have a Hurt 2.1 stroker motor that was a backyard build a few years ago. That, just like we were talking, don't do the buy once, cry once thing.
Yep.
I should have. And now I got a Hurt motor. That car's just been sitting around while I dip my feet into Time Attack. But this winter, I'm going to go through and do a full like chassis restore. I'm going to do everything I did. Yeah, it was my first car, and it's never had really a good engine in it. It's always been a pretty sketchy engine, and I'm excited because we're on the map with IAG, and to be able to use this car as a someone comes in and wants to drop 40 grand on their WRX to do the STI swap, to do all the things, I can just go out back and pop it. I want to show them this car and go for a cruise at 650. Absolute monster. That's kind of my dream with this car. I contemplated doing street mod, and then you ruined street mod. And
I tried.
But that was 7 years ago when I started building this, and it was still a fairly streetable class. And then 4 years later, once the motor popped and I had to redo it all, you built Boogeyman and just took street mod to the next level, and that's not achievable. That's not achievable for me anymore. So I just want this car.
It's not achievable. It's not smart. Like, I tell people all the time, don't build a street mod car. Like, street mod's broken. I think that's gonna be sick, dude. Build a badass street car. Maybe be able to take it to the track and screw around with it. But
one time I'm 1 second off in a Honda Fit that I was in Frank my first time out, just because that car was terrifying. I went from bone stock to 600 horsepower, and just it took so long to get used to. And it's a fun car. It's my Sunday cruiser. So I'm excited to kind of be able to rep the shop and rep IAG with that car down the road, and have it ready to go whenever this 18-year-old kid wants a reality check.
So, yeah, and that's really, honestly, one of the things that I think all shops need to have around isn't a 650 horsepower car. They need a 450 horsepower car.
Yeah,
Because a lot of these guys come in thinking they need 700 wheel. If you take them for a rip in 450 and not tell them how much power it makes, how much power do you think this makes? They'll be like, I don't know, 800. Like,
yeah, feels like it. My car's
We have those,
back to 400 horsepower.
conversations all the time.
all the time. All the time.
It's
If
like
you're a good shop, you're talking people down nonstop.
100%. And and our goal is like I get a horsepower goal for him. Like we had a kid that was like, I want 800 horsepower in my STI, and I was like, what's the fastest car you've ever driven? And he's like, well, my STI. And I'm like, well, what's done to it? And it's like, probably like maybe high 300s if he was lucky.
Stage
And
2.
I'm like, dude, I don't think you understand the jump in horsepower there. I get it. The YouTubers all have these, big builds, they're putting on dynos, and you're seeing these things, and you think you want that, but like in a street car, 800 horsepower is quite undrivable.
No, it's awful. And the maintenance is terrible. And like,
Yeah.
it's, don't get me wrong. It's shenanigans, but it's
Yeah.
as much or more pain than it is smiles. When a 450 car is smiles 99% of the time. And
And our goal is always to build the Subarus for about, like about a 200 horsepower buffer. So if you want 400, we're going to build it for at least, 600.
Yeah.
Supporting mods so that we're able to you can achieve that, but we can always tune it down. We can always make it more tame.
Exactly.
That's
and
always
guys don't want to hear that.
no, they
the
don't
biggest fear building. The biggest fear building these cars that I'm going to build one someday that's just for somebody who doesn't know how to drive it, and they end up hurting themselves in this car because they wanted 800 horsepower and realistically they needed 400. So we always try to make that a reality check for them. And
So, I mean, we've done an hour on Subaru talk, so we can slip in some fit talk now. We got to do it for the homies that showed up for the fit stuff. All right. Last season,
I'm leaving. I gotta go.
Yeah,
I go back to
yeah,
work.
I knew you got to go anyway. Later, man.
Adios.
Yeah.
All right. Last season, if I remember correctly, Jake, you won the Sunday Cup championship, correct?
I did. I took home either 4, I think it was 4 or 5 first that year, and with a handful of others. We ran almost every event except for I didn't do Willow Springs, and I didn't do. Did we do New Jersey last year?
I don't think so,
No, we
because
didn't.
I was at
No, we
Jersey.
didn't.
I don't
No, we
remember
didn't.
seeing
Okay.
you guys.
We did a lot of them. That was a lot of the best part about that year was, a lot of people think, man, this guy must have like this fully prepped out car and he must have a bunch of stuff done. Well, I was driving all year in a stock seat and seatbelt, like full interior. Like I drove that car to every event last year. We never trailered it once.
Did you
So,
even drive it all the way to Laguna?
We drove it.
Yeah.
Sam and Mason got in that car.
That's what's
And they
up.
drove it 36 hours there, and it ended up being 45 hours back because you guys went through Vegas.
That's so good.
And of course me, I was took the easier route, and I gave them money for the travels, and then I basically jumped on a plane with my wife and flew out to Laguna, which was really nice. That was our final event we were doing anyways, and it ended up being a lot of fun, I think, for everybody involved. But
yeah, you'll have that.
But
on
yeah,
those
no,
big
I mean
drops.
that car. That's why we're still such big promoters of them for people that want to get in, dip their toes on getting in track. I'm like, all right, here's the thing about
totally.
a pit. They're the most reliable vehicle you'll ever own, and if it does break, it's going to cost you $27. So they're just dirt cheap. Everything is dirt cheap on them.
You're out 2 Happy Meals to fix it.
Literally, and they're get 40 miles a gallon on the highway. And you can go rip around with a bunch of great people. Sunday Cup is one of the, it's become a bit of a, I will say, I think I stirred the pot a little too hard last year. And I think I made a lot of people who had been trying really hard to prep their cars more and more. And then I came in with a car, the car I brought, the 3rd gen, it's a dual cam, we had to have some modifiers, but I'd always kind of play, last year at Midwest Fest, I actually got disqualified. I was a half a horsepower over what I was allowed.
I remember.
And got disqualified. And it happens though. If you're trying to be the pointy end of Sunday Cup, you have to be riding that line. I literally ended up being underweight because I burned too much gas in the car during the session.
That's how, because you can't do anything else to the car. That's the that is the sort of games you have to play. You know what I mean? And if you're not, you aren't winning. It's just how this works. So
and just like to point out like how the class has grown, and again, like me stirring that pot has created absolute monsters this year in Sunday Cup. Every single event Sam has gone to with Test Fit, he has demolished my record at the track I had first place at. And he's still we got one podium this year, but like it is such a battlefield,
that's
right?
what I was
It
gonna
makes me
ask.
feel
I
like
know-
the old school like street mod days where it went from being like I can actually just bring a car I kind of built into this class and might actually podium, to being like, holy shit, I'm like 5 seconds off pace right now.
You got to bring basically a race team. Like
Literally.
And that's going to happen with any class. And it's funny that like you were kind of the catalyst for that. So Sam, you ran pretty much this entire season on top of like working at Grid Life and doing like tech and stuff like that. So you've ran pretty much all the races this year, haven't you?
So the problem with working is I do miss out on a session or two throughout the weekend. So
Yeah.
it definitely is difficult, and it's difficult to get in the car and focus after 80 hours of working.
I hear you.
But it's been fun. I've been multiple times. Just about every time I've been about a bumper off of podium, a bumper width or length or a single car length off podium, or first place. And I've made it a point at least every event to just shatter the record from Jake last year, just to prove him that I could do it. And if I was driving last year with this car, we would have so done it. And this Honda Fit is like something I've never driven. We're making changes every single event. We're breaking parts every single event. Like I've never broke so many parts on a Honda Fit.
That's what you're supposed to do.
And it's
ain't going fast enough.
Yeah, and we got the car for $600. Like, to be honest, like that's the best part about it. And it was wrecked. And I have gotten some pretty close calls this year, but it's been a lot of growing too. I became a driver this year. Never really dipped my foot into time attack. So yeah, I really am grateful for that car and the experiences I've had this year.
I think my favorite picture of Sam's Fit was at Lime Rock, when we have a picture of it doing like I think there's one wheel actually touching the ground going up the uphill.
I want to see that picture.
It is very good.
I definitely want to see that picture.
Like looking through the footage, I'm sitting out there like I'm watching my line in the BRZ, and I got a lot of learning to do with the rear-wheel drive platform. But
yeah, that's what I was about to ask. So you're running in Club TR with your BRZ.
I am, yeah.
That's got a Honda K24 swap, right?
It does, yeah.
Because it's a fucking heretic build.
I've been sitting pretty mid-pack this year. I've honestly kind of been enjoying it because it takes a little bit of stress off when you're sitting there fighting for a podium all weekend long, and you're like getting passed and then passing and then getting passed and then passing. It's like there's a lot of mental game to that. This year, I'm taking a little bit of a leave and trying to learn the car and the platform, and trying not to go put it into a wall like immediately. So that's more of a step back for me. But the car has been actually, it handles amazingly. We have had some issues that we've been debugging and working with, but it was funny because obviously, we have Peter on our team, and we sponsor him, and
that was the next thing I was going to ask is Peter. He's one of my favorite people. I met him when he was just this like odd kid with a turbo BRZ who was just trying to figure it out, and he decided he was going to go run street mod, which obviously that was not a great idea. And then Club TR happened. It took lots of conversation to get him to like, dude, Club TR makes a lot more sense for you. You should do this. But when he went and started getting help with you guys, that was a huge step for him. And now with you guys, plus I think he's got Robertson Racing or something kind of helping with like data and stuff. Man, he has been killing it. Him winning at Road America is like one of my favorite time attack stories ever. Talk about getting it done when it just everything was against you and managing to pull it off at the 11th hour.
Especially when you're fighting against that Canadian. He's
Dude, he's a psychopath. He almost took us out at Lime Rock last year. He was the
I
closest
know.
anybody
I know,
came
yeah.
to
In
beating
the
us last year.
It was the Jay-Z EG, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was some
Yeah.
fucking front wheel drive shitbox. Like the dude barely had he didn't have much time into prepping the damn car at all, and damn near took us out. If it wasn't for the fact that we both turned our cars 11 for the last, he got within like a 10th, and we both turned our cars clear to the moon for the last session, and both of our cars ran like shit. Come to find out, we forgot to put gas in, but yeah. He beating James Houghton in any capacity is something to brag about, and he beat him straight up, heads up, no bullshit whatsoever when everything was against him. And like, dude, I was so distraught from what happened to us at Podium Sprint, but so happy for him that it totally took the sting out of it. I was so happy to go over there and just like live in that joy, dude. I love that so much for him because he has worked so fucking hard to do it.
Oh, 100%. That's like, especially being somebody who like, so when we met Peter, the reason we kind of got on board with him was at Midwest Fest. It would have been, I believe, 22. I was driving the red fit, which we call shit fit, with the little teeth on it.
Yep.
And having a blast and everything. And I was sitting over there, we're done driving for the day, and I walk past Peter, and he's got his car up on jack stands, and he's underneath it, and does not have happy looks on his face. And I walk up and just ask him, like, what's going on, man? And he's working out of he's got like a husky bag full of like basic hand tools.
And
I'm
let's
like,
be real, Peter,
he's about to pull his transmission out.
He is not a mechanic.
Yeah, no, and he makes do, but he's like, he's gonna struggle through this. And so I looked at him, I was like, dude, I said, hold on a second. I didn't even say anything to him, and I pulled the whole tool cart out of the trailer. I rolled it down to him, and I was like, let's just get this done, man. Like, I'll lend you a hand. And so like I sat there and helped him. We got it all out, figured out what happened to it. And we got it remedied before that night was even over, and was able to get him back out on track. And it was cool for him to do that. And afterwards, I kind of just talked to him. We became closer and closer a little bit. And I just said, hey man, it seems like you're doing a lot with very little. And I said, if I can be a hand, the way we sponsor drivers is we kind of look for the guys who, it's not even really a potential basis. It's usually just a happenstance. If you're kind of within our area, Jim Smith, he's down in Indiana, and we have Peter as well, who's down in Chicagoland area. And it kind of works out where we're just like talking to these people and finding connections, and we say, oh, you're working on this thing out of your like single stall garage at your parents' house. Like, that's what Peter did. He put that whole car together doing the K-swap in his parents' single car garage, like basic hand tools. The only thing he had help with was like he had a buddy of his do the motor work, to do the timing and the oil pump and things like that, and go through and refresh the motor. But apart from that, he did all of that stuff by himself. And I was like, man, like, I give you huge props for that. I love hearing those stories, because that really is what like develops you to then figure more and more stuff out on your own. But at the same time, when you're able to just be like, hey, just come up a couple hours up north and put it on a hoist for a whole weekend, that's what we offer. We basically tell guys, we'll give you shop space and at cost pricing as much as we can through our sponsors and things like that. And kind of collaborate between
somebody
drivers.
Like Peter, that's massive. That is huge for him, because it not only gives him some space to work on some shit, but he's also got people there to help him out. Man, nothing's better than seeing Peter smile. I just he is like the most infectious, joyful guy. And I was, man, I was so stoked to see you guys working together, because it was just like the culmination of two awesome groups coming together, and then to see this all finally like working for him, it's so great, dude.
It is, and we love seeing and be able to support other people in the community, and that's kind of our outreach. Is we're not gonna be able to hand out giant sponsorship checks and give you a bunch of free parts, but hey, we can definitely be a help somewhere we're gonna be, which is why we're such a even at the track, like you see us, we're like, oh, somebody's pulling their engine, we're probably right behind them. Like, we're We're probably going to be over
dude,
there helping.
If you see it's never not happened where we're like running around like fucking chaos in our pits trying to put shit together where you haven't walked up and be like, hey man, what can I do? You know what I mean? You got your own problems and you're still over there helping us out. Like you're just that guy in the Grid Life pits, and I don't think enough people realize how much like you got.
It's made a lot of connections too, you know, and like I said, it's all about the community. So like even, I mean, back to 22, 21, somewhere in that range. It probably was 21. I remember helping Ben Lynn pull the trans out of his Evo. And like again, I go up to these guys and you like expect them to be like, oh, dude, they're like, yeah, they got stuff together. They must have everything. And I see like Ben Lim using like a giant adjustable wrench as a pry bar, and I'm like, bro, hold on. Like, and again, roll the tool cart over.
My brother.
But you know, that's just how it is. Like these guys aren't really. A lot of times, it's not like you're going to an event expecting to have to fix shit. But then when it happens, like a lot of times you have the motivation. It's just like if I can be there to lend a hand and to be able to help like get things together for you.
I have a lot of tools. They're not organized in any way, but I have a pretty decent amount of tools. But it's pretty rare in an event that I'm not coming over to you and going, hey man, do you got a such and such? So.
I mean, for a while there, we were thinking about like stocking up on everything we knew that you might like break, just to be like, hey, dude, guess what?
Yeah, I got
we
this.
We should have a big bin in the trailer that says Dewey's parts.
You would have made a mitt. You would have made a mitt. You're not allowed to do that though, because
I know,
you give away T-shirts. Everybody gets mad, you know. That whole stupid thread today that guy was out of control.
Talking about like trying to sell stuff.
He wasn't
even trying to sell it.
He wasn't even trying to. Yeah, the whole thing was stupid. But basically, he's just like, he somehow thought he was going to make money by giving away T-shirts. Like, the whole thing didn't make any sense. So now we. But
there's an easy way to remedy that. All you have to do is just buy a vendor pass from Grid Life because they do offer those.
You could totally sell stuff at Grid Life. Just pay him to do it. And believe me, nobody's going to stop you from selling a $20 T-shirt out of the back. Just don't set up a fucking tent and saying, I'm selling
man. We're they might come crack some skulls.
yeah, we'll see. Either way.
It's like a running. I'm not gonna lie. That's like our running joke right now because we're like pretty good. We're buddies with head of operations and things like that, and he'll give us shit because like I'll have a box of shirts that's like in my RV. Yeah, and we'll bring them obviously to like give them to people when they want a shirt and things like that. Because people will come up and be like, "Dude, do you have any of these shirts?" Because like we try as hard as we can to make. We got like the comfiest shirts like ever created.
Oh, yeah, dude, your shirts are great.
We want people to drive. We want people to wear them. So that's like my motto is like make sure it's comfy. Well, anyways, we like had him sitting in there, and he like. He comes in and we're talking and he sees the box. He's like, I better not see those out for sale. That's like the running joke. He comes up. He's like, I'm here to stop the black market T-shirt sales.
I love Chris. All right. So are you guys going to Subi Fest Midwest? Or are you going to that Chicago Subi Fest event?
We can.
When is that?
I think it's a couple weeks.
Okay, good.
All right.
Possibly. I guess it depends on when it's landing near. We're going to Autobahn. Is it happening near then?
It is the weekend after Autobahn.
After.
Oh, perfect.
No. Sorry. Backwards. I got that backwards. It's the weekend before Autobahn.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I guess we'll find out. I mean, I would like to start getting to more of that stuff. That's kind of a part of the reason I'm kind of working on this
It'd be
legacy.
a pretty good idea for you guys to at least show up to something like that. Either way, it'd be cool to see you there. But I posed this question the other day inside of Tracksuities, and we'll get this talk going. I'm not gonna lie, this has stemmed from years of conversation with people within that organization. That let's just say theoretically, that event were to change. And this is going to behoove you guys. Asking you this is stupid because of course you're going to want this. But if that were to change into being held at something like Gingerman, which is in West Michigan, and then due to the fact it's at a track, we then run a very Subaru-oriented time attack event there. I cannot, in my mind, see how this would not work. I just cannot wrap my brain around how, and I've already started kind of getting pushback from people in said organization because they think it's too far away from Chicago, even though it puts them closer to Detroit.
True.
But like everybody in Chicago already knows Gingerman due to Grid Life. They're gonna go.
Yeah, 100%.
And we could have a
I
rally
get
course.
why they have, right now they have it in Chicago. I understand. Like,
Oh, it makes
is
total
kind of an
sense.
epicenter. But
Have you been to Subi Fest there though?
I have not yet, actually.
Okay, I'm probably gonna catch shit for this if they listen to this, but I gotta be real. Maybe I'm getting old, maybe I'm getting jaded, but it's literally in the middle of a damn parking lot. Okay,
Oh.
they put some shit fencing up, and they run an autocross. Okay, which is cool. I got no problems with that. I think that's cool. But you're literally in a giant parking lot, which is also in the middle of a giant field. Okay, and then they've even got to run. They got to bring out like porta potties and shit like that. Like it's literally the middle of a fucking parking lot. And maybe because I've done so many of these over the years that I just feel like there's a better way to do more with this. There's going to be a car show. All the vendors are going to be there. Lots of people come and they buy shit because everybody runs deals. We'll be running deals. You see a lot of cool shop cars and stuff like that. It's a really cool way to get a bunch of people together and talking. They usually do an exhaust competition, and then they give a bunch of shit away in the end with a raffle or whatever. They kind of do the same thing at all of these events, which is cool. I really think maybe adding an extra layer to this, somewhere where the environment's a little nicer, because honestly, Joliet is a hole. We used to call it the Joylet for a reason. Like it's a toilet. It sucks. Nobody wants to go there.
It's pretty bad when I like start commenting on the fact that the roads are terrible because like obviously we live in Michigan, so there's a lot of roads that are really bad.
Joliet has
But when we go through
maybe
there,
the worst roads in the country. They're
it's
unreal.
They are
so
terrible.
bad.
If we did it at Michigan, if we did it in Gingerman too, I think, and so does Jake, that we could totally make a rally cross in the back 40.
I think we could do all sorts of cool shit with
secret
that.
squirrel ideas have been happening about another event that we may or may not be having hand in, and we'll definitely have some more conversations about it. But I mean, Subi Fest coming there would be another big step. Now, if they don't, I still think there's
another
great
event
opportunity to make a very good event.
If I can't get these bastards on board, I'm just gonna say it now. If I can't get them on board, guys, I say we blow up Speed Expo to the way it should be. Let's make Speed Expo what it always should be. By the way, I named that event. That is my event. Yeah, I'm the originator of that event.
Yeah. So I've been working on some ideas. I've been in cahoots with some people. And nothing's gone public yet because obviously it takes a lot of planning to do things, and there's nothing concrete. But I do want to talk to you about some ideas because we even have like
that we need to do off air, dude. I am.
No, we could talk about it honestly. Like my idea has been for a while that like kind of the idea behind Honda Meet, which doesn't exist, so nobody looked that up. Okay.
Yeah.
Similar to that, although make it bigger. We know Subaru is an absolute.
Have you had a conversation with Chris about this
community.
yet? Because I had a conversation about Chris years ago about this, and he's like, "Yes, let's do it."
Yeah,
I have all the sense in the world, and then COVID happened,
exactly.
So we.
I think we were in the same mindset then because I've actually talked to
dude, you and I need to get together with Chris and make it happen.
So I've already talked to the management at Gingerman. They basically have given us go ahead with the fee cost of running a full rallycross in the back 40 as well.
Yeah, boy.
We also would be running a car show around the pond just like Grid Life does, and then we would be running a full time attack event as well. And even if it didn't start as full time attack, we minimum would have track time you could come and pay for, similar to Honda Meet, where it's like beginner, intermediate,
if
advanced.
You had one session of people that are, maybe it's like low key time attack. You know what I mean? Like we don't actually have transponders, but any of the really fast cars are going to be able to show the time on your aim. You know what I mean? We could start it like that, and then like if we get enough interest in that, because I guarantee you'd get Mike Amick and I would come up, you know, we start at really community in ground level, and then we start growing it from there. Dude, I would help you guys promote the fuck out of that.
That's the plan. I would love to see it next year.
Rolling.
That's the idea. Is I've been trying to make things happen. I have a lot of plans in place right now. They basically just have to be delivered to the right people at this point, and see if things come to fruition about that. But I'd love to bring you on board with that. Obviously, you're a spokesman of the Subaru community, so I mean, obviously, when things do come out,
I would really like to get. I'd like to get us here at IAG involved with that.
Yeah,
I think it would work, and I really think it would work. But man, I don't know why they keep fighting this. They just fight the shit out of this.
There's a lot of levels to do anything. I mean, I know some of the complications. It depends on how big you want. Now, like something like Midwest Fest, let's say, like the infrastructure at Gingerman is honestly very subpar compared to what it should be in order to run an event like Midwest Fest. The amount of equipment and generators and things that they have to bring in to just run that stuff and be able to put on the show they do is enormous. But that being said, with something like this, I think there's huge potential for it because it is still a really good middle ground track. For one, it's the safest track in America, in my opinion. And so it helps bring in a lot of people that want to try out going on track and doing those things. And obviously we have the infrastructure as well, seeing that like now basically tech inspection is Abbott Auto Performance. I think we have a total of like 8 people that can run tech inspection now just out of my shop. So, there's a lot to do with that. And other roles we have involvement with as well. And we have people that would want to do this. And I've been reaching out to a lot of people with the idea. And I think it's definitely there. And if it ended up being something where like a company like SubiFest wanted to do that and they were willing to, then having that name recognition isn't a bad thing. But if they're not, the opportunity is there to create something new. And I think it can grow into an epicenter. If
they keep fighting it, fuck them. I said it. Like, you guys don't want it. I'm going to do it with or without you. We're going to find a way to do it. But it was going to take somebody in that area because I'm in Tennessee now. You know what I mean? But that area is perfect for it. And start putting on something serious and make it a serious, like, pissing match. I think it'd be great. I think it'll work great. We put it at the right time of the year. It's going to be phenomenal. So.
Yeah, I think a fall-based event would be a good idea. A lot of people, it's a good time of year. The weather's just starting to kind of key down, especially at a grassroots track like Gingerman, where you can have fires. Put a fire pit out and have a little fire at night and like hang out with the friends and family while you're at the event and make it a weekend of it. I think there's huge potential.
I'll be back in 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's doable though. I think we could totally do this.
Oh yeah. I think just the number of people we know that if we just were like, hey, you want to come to this event, it would probably make an absolutely massive event just by reaching out to people. And it's a good
the nicest thing we could being we are the closest shop to Gingerman, we could do some serious track prep for these cars if they needed it for new people.
Yeah.
All right, maybe I'll ask producer Jordan.
Yeah, Josh, I see in the chat we got Josh asking, is tenting allowed? Absolutely. It's basically a giant campground.
Oh yeah.
There's showers, there's good bathrooms, there's plenty of amenities at the track. And it's like such a down, like, I don't know. It's so hard to explain Gingerman. It's like such a homey place to go to.
It's got kind of a park vibe to it for the most part, which is really nice. It's kind of campgroundy feeling.
Oh, 100%.
Which is really the vibe that I think that event would work on. And even if you only had like maybe all of the stuff happened on, say, Saturday, and then you camped out Saturday night, and then everybody just could like leisurely leave Sunday, that would even work. You know what I mean? We'll come up with something.
100%. Yeah, make the big event like Saturday, make it so you can come up on Friday and camp out and get all your stuff ready. Car show guys show up. Like I said, I actually have ins with the rallycross community. I was actually working my way kind of into the SCCA rallycross community for a while before I got into grid life. So I have a lot of contacts there that I think even if we didn't want to run that, we could literally run it as their own. They'd have their own timing, they'd have their own awards, they'd have their own thing that they could do on site as well to draw their own community in. So it's not like a huge buy-in to have to come in and like, I want to buy a ticket. But obviously, we know track time isn't always the cheapest thing in the world for some people. So, like, if there's an opportunity for that kid out there that's like, man, I want to run the rallycross, it's going to cost $50 for the weekend. Like, you know,
Hell
it's
yeah, dude.
it's a great outlet for a lot of people to get out there and do.
What I'd really like to do is I want it crossing that community, people who are like performance curious. If they're no matter what they're into, car shows, Subarus, whatever, like they're into show cars, they're into street cars. I just want them to come out and I want them to not only have the same vibe that they get when they're at a Subi Fest event. Okay, so there's tons of vendors and you get to see new shit and see all sorts of people you normally don't see. But I also want the track curious or maybe the rally curious people to be able to get just a sniff of what that is. Like, I would really like one of those sessions to literally be maybe lead follow for people in just random street cars to go nice and slow but cruise around the track a little bit, or have ride-alongs like the taxi sessions and do something super cool with that, where we take a bunch of people that we know what the hell they're doing, we put them in cars that are reasonable, so we're not shoving people in boogie and doing fucking 30 flats out there. And we go take them on, run them for 2 laps so they can really get kind of a vibe of what's going on with the track, or even 1 lap and just like rip through people. And I think the way to do that would be, have you ever done, I feel like this is a Michigan thing too, where you go to a wedding and you do the dollar dance.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Now what we would do is we would do dollar dance for that. Like, you gotta at a minimum pay $1, but you can pay whatever you want. And we have that money goes towards some sort of charity.
Yeah, I'm all for that. I
think
mean,
it'd be
honestly,
sick.
there's a part of me that if like I can't get another organization that wants to tie into this, obviously we know there's other organizations, but there's a good chance that like even if this becomes a thing where I have to build and become some kind of organization to basically run this event, there's a good chance that it may just be a nonprofit, and that'd be like the best thing I could think of, because I don't need the profit from running an event like this. I think it'd be cooler to see, and I think more people would respect the fact if you were like, hey, not only are you coming to this, but like the proceeds are going to be going to good causes. And, obviously we got to pay for stuff up front, but afterwards, the money that's left over, it'd be really cool to be able to just start donating that out to good causes and stuff like that.
I agree. Like, and again, if there's anything I can do on my end, or anything I can do as Dewey at IAG, let me know, and I will shake trees as needed. Because this event, we need a Subinats US really bad. Okay, and we really need a Subaru track-oriented pissing match somewhere in this country. And it would be also cool for the track curious to be able to see what the track completely ludicrous is about. And, in anything in between.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's such an opportunity for it, and I'm really surprised there's not more of an event that's been created. I've kind of always had this idea, like, especially ever since like getting into grid life and like seeing how the operations and stuff work, and like starting to understand the internals of how you run an event like this, and what it takes. What does it actually take to rent the track for a weekend, and to have insurance and medical and have everything covered, and to have ticket sales guys, and to have guys running the box office and running tech inspection and running grid and running there's tons of layers to doing an event like this. So it does take time, especially if you want to make it into something really great. It does take time to be able to like really plan that out and really figure a lot of the things out. I mean, huge props to Grid Life. Like, people don't understand. They come to a Grid Life event and they're like, "Oh, this is cool." They just don't understand the amount of time that people put into making those events
No
happen.
idea, especially like
Absolutely
Midwest. They have
Oh,
no idea what went into that.
Our good buddy, who's head of operations for Grid Life. I mean, he was at Midwest for almost 2 weeks after the event was done, finishing it. Like,
Yeah.
the amount of time it takes to tear down everything, to roll semis in there, to pick up the giant stage, to like, there's so many moving parts to those things that are happening. A lot of people just don't understand it. They're like, well, why don't they just make it bigger? Why don't they just do more of this or this? And it's like, you should be happy with what's happening.
You
so
have no
far.
idea
Like,
what this came from and what it's at.
yeah, I know.
And,
Like, it grew from a little
in the
tiny little field
infrastructure of
stage.
doing, they're cramming 40,000 people into literally what essentially equates to a campground or the racetrack. Like, it's insanity. People are nuts. Josh Aldrich said, I think he's talking about the event. I think it needs to be done regionally, multiple events. I think if one event actually took off and started to work, it'd be a lot like Grid Life, where
100%.
maybe multiple events would be on the table. What I'd like to see is one event start taking off, and then maybe if it was very Subaru based and it was working really well Subaru based, we got Subaru themselves to start saying, hey, we'd like to be a part of this. Or maybe them go, hey, we're going to tell Subi Fest to be a part of this, because they're who funds all the Subi Fest stuff.
Sure.
So, like, if we built something that made sense, I would really like to see that start going in that direction.
I totally agree. I'm all about trying to get people
Josh,
involved.
I don't want to hear it. Josh is like, it's so expensive to get there from this distance. Fuck off, Josh. My car is in Maryland. That's how far I have to go to fucking everything. I don't want to hear a damn thing about your bullshit, Josh. Okay? I went to Laguna last year. It cost me $10,000 for that total trip, and all I got was a fire.
Hey, at least, I mean, that was probably the highest that car's ever revved.
Yeah, I did set a new record.
What
I set a
it hit,
track
like
record and a
13,000
personal
RPM?
record. It was 12. Okay. It was 12.
Dude, he's out here thinking he's got a
Dylan's got to say something. Dylan's
Honda.
coming in. Dylan, how it be? Link hater himself.
What is up? Oh,
What up?
How are we?
how are we doing?
We're doing.
Well, I've been listening to Dewey for about an hour, so as good as I
Yeah.
can be.
What are you gonna do, right?
Yeah,
Oh my god.
pretty excited to see you guys on here.
Yeah.
Cool to see you
glad
guys
to
on
be
here.
here. Yeah, glad to be here.
Yep. Some of my favorite people. I was really stoked to have you guys on. I was really happy when I hit you up. You're just like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, thank God I don't gotta wait like weeks. Because like a lot of people, I gotta plan it out. And I know you guys are busy as shit, but I knew you'd take it seriously enough to like, we'll make time. And that means a lot to us. So
No, it's always good.
cool.
Always good coming to chat.
Yeah. I think that was the last thing I really wanted to talk about was the Subi Fest stuff. Anybody got any questions in the chat? Dylan, you got any questions you want to hit these guys with?
So, I have a on the whole Subi Fest track event thing. I do have an idea of potentially doing a New England one at Lime Rock. I think would be really cool.
I go to work really good there too.
Yeah,
I'm all for it and growing it and doing more with it too, because like obviously, the idea behind like starting at Gingerman, there's a reason behind that. It's because Gingerman costs a lot less than any other track to rent.
Correct.
To be honest.
Yeah.
So like the initial cost to actually make an event happen is lower than a lot of places. Like if you compared, Gingerman to like Road America on what Grid Life pays to be at that track for the weekend, it is astronomically smaller.
It's also very safe. So if you were to start, if we're gonna have, this is gonna be something along the lines of what they do with Subaru Speed Expo, where we have like a couple of groups of beginners. Like there is not a better track in the country than Gingerman for beginners. It is the safest track.
For us as a crew, Abbott Auto could supply box office, tech inspection, grid staff. We have done it all.
Yeah, we literally have I think at this point in Abbott Auto Performance, we now have pretty much almost every, I wouldn't say every, but there's like the widespread of jobs at Grid Life. We are probably touching like almost every corner of that at this point, as far as like ground operations go.
Hold on,
like,
I don't want to cut you off here, but Josh Aldrich goes, but there's nothing to see in Michigan other than potentially being a victim of armed robbery. First off,
you're going
Josh,
to the wrong place in
you
Michigan.
are on
man.
the wrong side of the fucking state, and I don't
Yeah,
want to hear
dude.
that shit. I want you to go hang out in West Michigan on the beach, which you're only not even, 15 minutes from when you're at Gingerman?
15 minutes.
You have no fucking clue to what you're talking about. Wait,
the east
beach,
side, I would agree. There are some
We're not
very
talking about the
sketchy
east
places.
side. We're talking about the west side of Michigan. West Michigan and Lake Michigan is gorgeous. You are high.
Yeah. In our hometown, Muskegon, where we're at, we have one of the beach is like absolutely massive. You know, obviously it's on a lake. A lot of people are like, oh, it can't be a beach.
Yes, there are
Beaches are only on
sand
the
dunes,
ocean.
Josh.
And I'm like, dude, if you've ever been to a freshwater body like Lake Michigan, that is, especially up by us, it changes a lot. You come from Chicago and you look at the water down there, you can't even see an inch through the water. You come up to us and you go up to like even a little bit farther than us, especially if you go up like Ludington, Traverse City area, the water is literally crystal clear. You can, if it's a calm day, you can see the bottom like legitimately like 20 yards out in the water. You can still see the bottom of the sand that's out there. So it's a really cool place. We love Michigan. Obviously, we know every state has its downfalls, but man, it's hard not to love. Even coming back and being like, man, I guess I'm just gonna go take a dip in this nice non-salted water that's like perfect temperature and it doesn't have sharks in it or jellyfish.
I'm sitting on Jake's front porch right now, and if I look far enough down the road, I can see the Muskegon Lake, which leads into Lake Michigan.
I grew up in the lake region of Western Maine, and so we don't have Lake Michigan, not as quite as big, but it is very comparable. I do like West Michigan out there. It's a very beautiful countryside. That whole area has never treated me bad.
It's good people out there. It's nice areas. The food's solid. Like in the fall, the weather's gorgeous. And just fuck off with all that, Josh. You are high. And last time I checked, you live in fucking Pennsylvania. I don't want to hear it.
Pennsylvania. Oh my gosh.
I am not even hearing it out of fucking Pennsylvania trying to have a conversation about Michigan being man-made lakes and armed robbery. Like, you are high.
There's so much history in this little town that we live in that you can't even fathom how much automotive history came out of Muskegon, Michigan. It's wild.
Yeah, it's actually really crazy. Muskegon itself has got a ton of automotive history, even that I didn't realize till I got more in the industry after I had left it. But just everything in that state's plugged into automotive one way or another.
We literally have railroads buried in our beaches that used to ship out springs and valve springs and piston rings for every automaker. And it was right out of these little, what look like ghettos now, but it's because they used to be massive foundries.
I'm telling you, Steph, I know it's your birthday, but if you could do me a favor, like a good, just go swat his ass. He's so out of line right now. I'm offended.
Yeah, I need to take a lap.
Yeah, dude, we gotta get next time you're up here. You gotta stop and like see how downtown Muskegon has changed too. Like over the last 4 or 5 years, it is crazy different now.
What's really wild is people keep telling me that every couple of years, people are like, dude, Muskegon's so much different than it was 5 years ago. 5 years later, Muskegon's so much more different than it was even 5 years ago. I haven't been to downtown Muskegon, actually walked around in downtown Muskegon for probably 15 years. So it's probably night and day.
100%. 15 years ago, I think it was 3 dive bars and 1 restaurant maybe.
Oh, it was still pretty hood. You know what I mean?
Nowadays, it's
wasn't
dude,
great.
The investors finally realized how good it could be, and they're going crazy. Everybody's going crazy right now.
Steph,
It's just becoming
about
a
Detroit.
beautiful place.
That's the wrong side of the state. West side of Michigan, Grand Rapids, Muskegon, Holland area, Grand Haven, all of that. It is a completely different world than Detroit. Nobody likes to talk about Detroit.
Yeah. Unfortunately, literally every time we drive across Michigan, we have to go past the east side. I'm just annoyed. I'm sitting there in my RV with 2 cars on the trailer behind me, and then my suspension's just being blown to bits because there's literal craters in the road. And I'm just like, why do I have why? Why is this like
Why
this?
does this exist?
And then we go back towards our side on the west side, and we like get over there, and all of a sudden it's just like brand new, beautiful roads for miles and miles, and you don't ever feel a bump, and you're like, all right.
West Michigan straight up got bougie when nobody was looking.
Oh yeah, no, I did.
Jim Smith says it the best. Worst part about visiting Muskegon is I leave with a hangover every time. We'll show you guys a good time if you come up and hang out.
Yep.
It is a good time. We might have done some maybe a little too many beers a couple times though, but we always have a good time. So
The best beer is made in West Michigan, out of the whole country. It's made right around here. You
I
wouldn't
don't know.
believe
I
it.
don't drink. I don't know.
Yeah.
Dylan would know more about that than me. I could tell you what, a lot of these guys are really hardcore on the Wisconsin beers. So
oh yeah, Wisconsin's got a lot of good stuff too.
Hey man, I've
Yeah,
been to California and I see beer from Michigan. That's a big that's a big statement right there.
that's saying something. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm always into trying new beers from all over the place. So next time we link up at the track or something, give me a tasty one. I'll trade you guys something from over this way. That's good.
All for it. All for
just
it.
don't give them a Moxie. That was I get into like craft sodas and shit, and he talked me into getting a Moxie, which is it's like a Maine specific soda, and I've never drank something more nasty in my fucking life. It is so bad. But you can get Rock and Rye, Faygo Rock and Rye in Michigan, just anywhere. So
you can, yeah.
True.
A lot of people probably don't even know what the fuck that is.
Not have a clue, but I tell you what, you can order it from Amazon too. I highly recommend it.
It's
weird.
People don't know about it.
It probably tastes like dirt.
For anyone who hasn't been around here, you guys should really come up and visit. The place has changed dramatically, and it's so worth it. It is now a destination, and it's growing exponentially. It's one of the fastest growing cities in America right now, and I can promise you, everywhere you look is development. So if you have,
when I was growing up, when I 90s, early 2000s, when I was back from the Marine Corps, but through the 90s and late 80s and all that, when I was growing up out in that area, Muskegon was a hole. All right.
Oh yeah.
Were you guys? I'm sure Jake is old enough. I don't know if Sam ever got to go to the original Muskegon Mall.
Yep, downtown.
Yeah, I saw it.
I so wanted to go to the arcade, but I couldn't because you'd get stabbed.
You're probably not lying.
No, it wasn't. That's the truth. It just was the truth. That's where a lot of bad things happen, and when I left, I kind of felt like I was leaving all of that, and then I leave, and Muskegon becomes awesome.
It's really exciting.
It's grown a lot. I mean, it's really cool to watch because obviously, we all grew up here, so being able to kind of see the city and also to reinvest in the city by opening a shop here and rather than going out to like Grand Rapids or Lansing, takes a little more guts to start in a city that you don't. I
think you guys are a little location independent at that point, and I think some of it, your location being kind of. You are in West Michigan, and people are willing to drag their shit to you. I know there's definitely a decent amount of people who are dragging their stuff from the east side of the state to you. Maybe due to some recommendations from somebody I know.
We've been having quite a bit. We've had a decent amount of customers ranging all the way, a lot of from Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and obviously a ton of Michigan. But we have had a lot of out-of-staters. That are still in the area. They're just reaching around. We try and be pretty fair on our pricing, and obviously is probably part of it, but we try pretty hard to kind of put ourselves out there. And
we gotta have a conversation about pizza in Michigan real quick. Okay, I'm just gonna throw this out here. The best pizza on this planet is Mr. Scribbs, and I will fucking fight you.
That is good. That's late.
Okay, Mr. Scribbs is so damn good. It's its own thing. It kind of like Chicago deep dish is like a soup bowl, and I lived in Chicago for a long time. I ain't feeling that. And New York's got its own thing, and everybody's got their own thing. Mr. Scribbs is its own thing, but I tell you what, fight me. Mr. Scribbs is my favorite pizza on the planet, and you can only get it in West Michigan.
I used to work at Mr. Scribbs when I was 18.
Yeah?
Oh yeah.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, I worked there for
I think
a
you
while
just
actually.
finally cleaned the grease off you.
That was like the worst part. I gained so much weight so fast because they had a policy of, like, you can eat whatever you want from the shop here for food, as long as you finish it. They're like, don't make if you make something too big, like a full pizza, you can't take it home, and like you'll be charged for it. I was like, oh, okay. So being like, fresh out of high school, I bought like this super cheap house that I was living out of. It was like $16,000. Um, and I was like, all right, yeah, I'm just gonna never buy food. I'm just gonna eat Mr. Scribs every day. I wouldn't recommend that. It's delicious, and you'll just keep eating it, but you will gain like 50 pounds in 3 months. So
There's so many more options too than Bernio or than Mr. Scribs. It's Bernio's, who has actually won best pizza in Michigan like multiple
no,
times.
it was national pizza competition back in.
National pizza.
It
Yeah.
was national, yeah. It was actually national
So-
pizza. They won a national pizza competition for like best pizza. Back in, I believe it was like 2000, probably like 12 or 14 or something like that. But yeah, I
And
mean, absolutely amazing. Like
the amount of little shops opening up in downtown that are all like bougie Stonefire handmade pizzas. There's like 5 of them now, and
Yeah.
it's impressive.
All right, guys. We did 2
All about
hours. We probably shouldn't have done 2 hours, but we did 2 hours. We had a good time.
Yeah.
I'm so stoked you guys were on. Like I said, your whole crew there is some of my favorite people, and you've saved my ass multiple times. You saved everybody else's ass multiple times. You guys do killer work there, and I'm just really stoked to have you guys on. If people are trying to get a hold of you, how would they do it?
Well, we have multiple outlets for that now. We have a pretty sweet website you can actually like go right onto an inquiry about. We also, obviously, you can call right directly to our shop. You can find us, just type it in Google. Abbott Auto Performance will pop right up. You can give us a shout over the phone if that's what you're looking to do. If you're, not wanting to talk to our front desk guy right away, then you can always shoot us emails. You can do that right through our website at abbottautoperformance.com, or you can email us at abbottautoperformance@gmail.com.
You guys are
simple.
fairly active on the socials too.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. You can get a hold of us on Facebook, or you can get a hold of us on Instagram as well. All those outlets would probably lead you to eventually talking to our front office guy, Felipe. He'll do you right. He knows a lot of stuff and he communicates very well. But yeah, it's if you need any work, you just get a hold of us.
Well, this has been fun, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully we can do
Thanks
it
for
again
having us, Joey.
sometime. Yo, anytime, dude. Anytime. And I need to get Dylan out to West Michigan sometime, just not racing, just fucking around.
I was gonna say, you guys need to get up here, like, so we can like bring you downtown. But not only that, we need to like let's go to the dunes. Let's go.
Yeah, I
jump,
wanna
let's
go do some
jump some lifted
shenanigans.
Subarus over Test Hill.
Exactly. Let's
If,
go.
if anybody here doesn't know what Silver Lake Sand Dunes is, definitely Google it and like YouTube some videos of dudes jumping like $200,000 trophy trucks off of massive sand dunes. It's like probably the most fun thing, and it's like 40 minutes from us. So
I'll
Yeah.
be there tomorrow with my Forester.
we definitely have to do some shenanigans with that, and I think we'd have just a total riot. So,
You guys,
that
you guys
would-
do ice racing out there in the winter?
So they have events, but we haven't had them recently because the winter's been so spotty. Our lake hasn't been freezing over much, and
Yep.
then you have some inland lakes. We have a couple like around us that people will do it on, but because of the fact that we have had such spotty winters, it's been a couple of years since they've ran the event. So the last time I went ice racing actually was up in Wisconsin when they had the ice battle.
Yep, Grid Life.
Yeah, we went to the one in 21.
Yep.
But yeah, we haven't been there back since. But it was a fun time.
Yeah, we got to do that sometime too, Dylan. I think you'd have a riot with that. We'll fly in and I'll steal somebody's car. It'll be a great time.
Just go dooning.
You can just talk to
I'm
us.
all for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to figure something out. I think it'd be awesome shenanigans to even maybe do some IAG video stuff with. It'd be fun.
Definitely.
All right, guys.
Hey, man.
It's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. And we will see you next time. And we'll catch up with you guys at the track. All right, folks. Hope you had a good time and maybe accidentally learned something. If you could do us a solid and please subscribe. And I can't stress this enough. Share. Share the link to the podcast. Tell people about the podcast. come on the podcast. It's we the more the merrier, and the more people we have, the more guests we can have, the more fun we can have with this. We want to make this a giant happy family. So thanks, guys.